Howdy, Hurricane.
Podcast about sports. Howdy, Ags from the Hurricanes tailgate. I don't know. What do you think, Corey?
We should call it that after this showing we had.
From the tailgate, home of Aggie football. This is the coach, the delivery man, Corey. How you doing, bud?
And better.
Yeah, yesterday was rough. Today's show, though, let's start there. Brought to you by Frida Homes, building Aggie dreams, custom home builders with over 15 years of experience in the Brazos Valley. If you're looking for someone that cares about your details, contact Frida Homes. Visit them on Instagram at frida.homes or give Justin a call, 979-450-4466. When you call, just remember, everyone loves their Frida Homes.
Frida Homes.
Email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. See us on YouTube. Subscribe. Corey, I'm going to start off just a couple of comments from the subscribers. A couple of new subscribers, to Lacey Howard, Yardman Mike. Welcome to the show. Hopefully you guys enjoy it a little bit. We got plenty of messages from our Miami listeners. Came out in force after the game, of course, as I expected him to. New King God. Thank you for the commentary. Overall, the truth is they're right. They came out and put it to the Aggies this past Saturday.
They sure did. It wasn't even a good game.
No. Tony said that they would win 27-24. I guess he underestimated the lack of defense for the Aggies.
Right.
And greatest ever says Durkin has to go.
Hey, I like that.
Should never have probably been hired, but whatever. Look, Corey, Aggies lose to the Hurricanes 33-48 in Miami Gardens, of course. So on the road, have had under Jimbo consistent problems on the road the last couple of years.
Problems on the road, problems at home. I think it's just problems everywhere.
Man, this was such a disappointing game because Miami even gave the Aggies a chance, right? I mean, right off the bat, block punt, then a muff punt, to give the Aggies the opportunity to take the lead and everything else, get out in front early. And then it was domination station after that. I mean, domination station after that. Miami, who last year was a team that lost to Middle Tennessee or Tennessee State or whoever, right? A team that was worse than the Aggies somehow. And they just came out and dominated this game.
Yeah. The front seven, I mean, the front lines, they look better on offensive line, defensive line. They look better in every phase of the game than what we did. I can't say that there's one phase of the game that we looked strong at yesterday. Not one.
You think after what I said about the block punt and the muff punt, maybe special teams, but they then returned a kickoff for a touchdown. So that sort of, evened it up.
Right.
Both lines of scrimmage, they absolutely dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Something I definitely didn't expect.
No. We got no pressure on Van Dyke at all the whole game.
Here's
nuts.
Here's a few stats, and look, numbers don't tell the story, but here's a few things. First of all, they had the one turnover, just the muff punt, right?
Yeah.
Van Dyke, 21-31, 374 yards, 5 touchdowns, Corey. Parrish, the tailback, 10 for 50 yards. They didn't run the ball that great, but that 10 for 50 is not bad. Restrepo, here's where the numbers come in: 6 for 126 receiving. George, 5 for 94 and 3 touchdowns. Young, 6 for 75 and a touchdown. That's it, right there. there is one number that is kind of weird and doesn't really tell the story of this game. They had 0 sacks, and the Aggies had 2. But that doesn't tell the story of this game because they had pressure on Connor. Connor was taking a beating all day, and Van Dyke basically could have put his uniform back on the rack without having to wash it for next week. I mean, so interestingly enough, that's how they played out. For the Aggies, 3 turnovers, two interceptions by Connor, and the fumble for Daniels. Connor was 31 of 53, 336 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs, 5 rushes for 29 yards. We'll get into that. Daniels 18 for 62 and a touchdown. Stewart 11 for 142. Thomas 4 for 38. Owens 3 for 35. Smith 3 for 27. They did get the tight end involved. Jake 3 for 22. Moose 1 catch for 15 yards. All right, Corey. Let's start off here and look at what this defense, the Aggie defense, did against Miami here.
What they did or didn't do.
Well, that's a good point, man. This is the most frustrating thing I've ever. I can't tell you right now how worthless I think Smirkin Durkin is. DJ Durkin is the worst freaking defensive coordinator in all the country. Look, before the game in the preview, we talked about the wide receivers for that team, and we said Restrepo is a guy that can go get it done. We said number 4 is a guy that can go get it done. We said number 6 is a guy that can go get it done, and they dominated that matchup. Our guys couldn't cover him. DeBerry matched up on number 4 was like a high school kid covering an NFLer. I mean, it was ridiculous. There's nothing he could do. The number 4 just absolutely dominated the dude. Chappelle didn't play much better. The tackling was horrendous. But when they went to the air, they got matchups. They got guys wide open. Everything they wanted. Everything they wanted. Those wide receivers made play after play. What we didn't expect in this game is that their O-line would dominate our defensive line. Before the game, we said, we think that's our best matchup, right? Our D-line versus their O-line. And
it's not a good matchup.
We got dominated, dude. Van Dyke sat back there behind that offensive line and just looked.
Dropping dimes, man. Dropping dimes. Just
Van Dimes, as his mom's calls it, right?
That's what she should call him.
Van Dimes. The dude absolutely had all day to throw, and we talked about it before the game. When he's comfortable in the pocket, he can go deliver that football, and he does a great job of doing so.
That might have been his best game of his college career.
I'd be surprised if it isn't. Absolutely.
Aggies might have got him drafted just now. He might be back in the conversation.
And here's the thing, Corey, and we couldn't get pressure all day. And we talked about it before the game. We need to be aggressive. What we want to see is be aggressive. And we said what we will see is bend but don't break. Here in this case, they played bend but break.
Oh, they bent and they broke. They did all sorts of – it was awful.
So we sort of called it a little bit in the pregame. We didn't think that this was going to happen with that defensive line. I don't even know where to start, Corey. How do you have the level of talent and all the hype surrounding this freaking group of defensive linemen, and we got dominated up front, Corey? I'm gonna let you sort of say something here, man.
I think you have to blame it on the people that pick who 5 stars are and 4 stars are, because our guys obviously aren't 4 and 5 stars. Because there's no way that a player that's supposed to be that good can look that bad, and you have 10 or 12 of them up on the defensive line, and you can't get any pressure on the quarterback the whole damn game just about. He sits back here, what did you say, 371 yards he threw for? 5 touchdowns all day? To
74, 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, there's no excuse. You watch other teams play. You watch the Miami Hurricanes play. They don't have the same talent, according to the experts, that we have. But they put pressure on us all day, and we have 4 and 5 star players on the offensive line too. They can't block. I mean, I don't know what happened to
So
Basantis. I'm sure we'll talk about that later, but I mean, the whole offensive line got their ass kicked. Our defensive line sucked. I can't say
so
anything bad about the linebackers because
no. I am going to say bad things about the linebackers, but give me a second here to start with this defensive line because here's my
I mean,
thing,
is it
right? I mean,
do you blame this all on coaching? Do you blame it all on coaching?
yeah, 100%. 100% this is Durkin's situation because you know what? The dude sits in there and he comes out in 3-man lines, he comes out in 4-man lines, drops one guy. You know who I saw Fidel Diggs in coverage more than I should ever see Fidel Diggs in coverage. I saw LT Overton in coverage more than he was rushing a passer. You know, I don't think I saw Silla on the field all day. And I White wasn't on the field all day. We couldn't get any pressure, and all he kept doing was the same exact thing over and over again. You know what I mean? And here's the other thing. Those dudes are telling them, and it's the reason they played so much better against the run probably this week, is they're basically telling them occupy blockers, you know, and they're not getting off
because are you saying don't put pressure on, just occupy the blockers?
Occupy blockers because they're not getting off those blocks. They're like going right into the middle of offensive line.
That's not disrupting anything. You're not disrupting shit if you're occupying.
No, they're not
blockers.
disrupting anything. They didn't do anything to disrupt the Miami offense the other day. It's ridiculous how bad this defensive line played. I mean, you got guys in – McKinley, I don't know why he's not on the field more. The dude's the best defensive lineman on the team. Get him on the freaking field. Put him on the freaking field.
I mean, I don't think Rakes and Regis are that bad, but they are no Nolan. They're no McKinley Jackson. I mean,
no, and they should be on the field half the time. They should be on the field a quarter of the time, if that. You know what I mean? These guys have to start playing more snaps. You know, like I said, LT Overton gets on the field and all he does is cover. You know what he's covering? He's covering grass. That dude ain't covered a soul ever in his life.
Exactly. Why are they out there in coverage? They didn't get recruited to cover people.
He's out there lost in
recruited to make plays in the backfield.
And Fidel Diggs, yeah, and then you get Fidel Diggs and he's playing freaking middle linebacker, and of course the ball they do a little faking around, and does he can't get over the top because he's not used to reading a backfield. He's not used to reading a backfield, and he's slow to play it. And what happens? They get to the outside and they get yardage. That's what happens when you have those and big play. That was a big play, and you get those things because you put these players in the position to be there, right? You want to talk about, and I'll tell you what, man, you got to praise what? No, you don't have to praise anything. There's no praising it, but we talk very, very positively about a guy like York, and you said we have nothing, we don't have anything bad to say about the linebackers. No, I got plenty bad to say about the linebackers. I'm gonna tell you what, York as a downhill, see it and read it right now, downhill, good. He's not a great athlete. He barely can run, it seems like to me. And you get him out in space, you're in trouble, son. You're in trouble as a defense. You watch Cooper. Cooper's a phenomenal athlete out there, out in space, in regards to that defense and getting sideline to sideline. That dude can cover, can do all those things. He's a big dude. I mean, I thought he was one of the ones that played probably as good a game as anybody else on the defense. It's hard to say who played a great game, but that guy's an athlete. York, he ain't there.
He's a freshman. He'll get better, but he's
never going to be a sideline to sideline guy ever.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But like I said, I mean, I'm not here to. If I was bashing for starters, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I have bad things to say about the linebackers, and not as much bad as I have to say about the defensive line and the secondary. I was so disappointed in the pressure we got, and I don't know if it's because of lack of pressure, but the secondary just sucks. I mean, they looked awful. Damani hasn't gotten any better. I mean, the guy, I don't understand.
Look, that's a great point.
What do they see in Damani Richardson?
I don't understand. And look, if you want to have him in the box as a run support, get out there, do all those things, whatever.
Matching him up, the speed, get him in the backfield.
If you match him up on a wide receiver, a decent wide receiver, he's going to get beat. And that's what happened in the long throw to Restrepo. one-on-one on a pretty darn good wide receiver, and he didn't stand a freaking chance. And that's how it's going to be all season. I don't understand how the heck it is that he's always in coverage against some of the best damn athletes on the other side of the field. Like, no, that's not you can't do that because he's going to get beat every time. And if you call that play, and Durkin did, if he calls that play, he knows he's going to lose. And if he doesn't know, he's an idiot, right?
Well, if you're the coach, I mean, I know what I would do. What would you do different right now, starting tomorrow? Defensive coordinator. You're the defensive coordinator. What do you do different? Now, I'm not saying fire Durkin. We already know that. I'm talking like what defensive assignments. I know what I do.
I'm going to be aggressive. I'm bringing.
Hey, right.
I am bringing it. Look,
I'm bringing it all day. I'm gonna put in Chappelle, Grimes, DeBerry, whoever the hell, Thomas. I'm putting them up in that grill as a wide receiver, and I'm hitting them right off the fucking bat. And I'm putting that D line, 4 guys, I'm putting Coop. I don't even know if it's Harris or York who I'm gonna put right there at the other spot yet. I'm bringing it. I'm gonna make them. If they want to run the ball, they're gonna have to run screen passes left and right on us all day because we're gonna be so fucking aggressive. They're gonna be like, we're gonna have to throw screen passes.
They did run screen passes on us all day. We didn't do much about that either. You know why? Because our defensive line, on top of not being good at rushing the passer, they don't recognize the freaking screen and don't get back and try to support. I mean,
they're not letting our guys play. I think they're overthinking this. They're overthinking the whole thing. You don't take that kind of talent and try to change it.
To me, it's like they're taking the players and then they're trying to convert them to meet the scheme that Durkin wants to run. Let me tell you something about Durkin. Durkin at Maryland was one of the worst freaking teams in the country. Their defense was horrible, and so he gets fired. He gets fired for it. They're bad. Their teams are bad. Their defenses are bad. He's supposed to be a defensive guy. He gets fired.
You're Durkin. That's a blessing in disguise. Look at you now.
He goes from there to Ole Miss, where he leads literally the first year, the worst defense in the SEC. The second year, one of a defense that is at best middle of the pack in the country. At best, the only team that had problems with him is A&M and Jimbo, who called those plays. Listen, then freaking Jimbo decides, well, hey, I couldn't score on them. I guess they're pretty good. Let's take Durkin from Ole Miss. Man, ain't nobody happier than freaking the Ole Miss fans that Durkin's gone. Lane Kiffin threw a party the day Durkin got hired somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Durkin's a salesman. That's what he is. He recruits well. He's a salesman. He just doesn't coach very well.
Look, and the fact is that he's, your linebackers coach, and you think, well, maybe your linebacker's going to be better. Your defense coordinator is. No, shit, they get worse. I mean, how is that possible? I don't even understand that.
So, okay, what I learned from this game is New Mexico's really, really bad. They are terrible. New Mexico's terrible. For everything I was feeling going into this game, I feel the exact opposite right now. I'm just talking about their offenses. Like Miami might be the second or third best team in the ACC after what I saw. They're pretty freaking.
So hold on before we start making some proclamations here, and I will come back to that. I want to know here, Corey. Like one of the guys that I thought was going to be huge this year, and they've started to use him more as a deep safety than an in the box safety is Anderson. And it's almost like the aggressiveness that we saw out of that dude last year is gone. I don't know that it's to his blame, man. But he is nowhere to be found on this field. Like
they're taking the aggressiveness out of the whole defense. That's the problem. They've taken it. Everybody's reading. They're not they're trying to read stuff and no reaction at all. They're just still waiting. It's such a big pause. It's a snap. It's not anybody getting after it. There's no aggressive nature at all in the defense. That's what I'm saying. We need to get aggressive. I mean, you watch Elko at Duke. I mean, he's aggressive. He doesn't have near the talent we have here. He's kicking he beat Clemson.
I even think
the hell out of Clemson.
there was that the long play to 6 that he ended up turning into a touchdown. Gilbert came over the top to try and just absolutely whiffed on the tackle, and he made a move inside and ended up taking it to the house, right? And Gilbert's another one. He just looks like he's slow to get to where he was getting to before because he's thinking too much, right? Like there's too much thought involved here, or something.
I guess.
I can't name one area that I think that this group has improved in, or any one individual player has improved in. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought Cooper had improved game 1, but after watching this game, I'm not sure. I was expecting big. I mean, I can't really. I mean, McKinley, I thought had like maybe 1 or 2 spots in the game where I was like, okay, there's McKinley, but other than that, no one wasn't a difference maker. We just didn't have any. I mean, we had difference makers. They're not just being difference makers. It's like they told them to calm down.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't get it one bit. But I got to give Miami credit. Miami looks really good. The coaching staff there, from last year to this year, it's a 180. That team is, and I mean,
all right. So Corey, but no pressure on this group. We don't see 92. We don't see 40 at all.
Who's 92?
Scylla, Harris, White. None of the guys that are Overton doesn't rush the passer at all. He's always in coverage. You know, so none of the guys that are sort of somewhat designated pass rushers, man, even get on the field. I mean, is there a reason?
Diggs was out there. He wasn't pressuring the quarterback team. I mean, he did all right. They had him dropping in coverage. I mean, I can't say that anybody on the team impressed me.
I'll say this. I'll give it to Fidel. I do think, okay, and I guess we'll go to this. Defensive player of the game, Corey. You can't pick one, right? I do give it to Diggs. I think you watch closely enough. That dude was about as active as anybody. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, and he didn't have any help. But
I expected more out of Chappelle. By the way, I expected more out of Chappelle.
Huh?
I was disappointed in Chappelle. I expected more out of him.
Yes, I'm very disappointed in what we've seen out of Chappelle so far. But he's still our best cover guy. The problem is that none of the other ones are any good at all, right? Javon Thomas, got exposed a little bit as a freshman. Hey, look, but he's out there, he's battling. You throw him out in that position as a freshman, he's gonna have some moments where he's gonna look like a freshman, right? Josh DeBerry.
Did Grimes play? I don't even know if he plays.
Harmon got in the game late. Another guy you could use that you haven't given him a chance at all. Grimes hasn't gotten in the game. McCall hasn't gotten in the game. None of those guys have gotten any playing time. It's not like the guys that you've got out there are doing a great job. So, I mean, at some point, don't you need to see what's going on? And maybe they're that bad they're that bad in practice that you're sitting there thinking like, holy crap,
Well, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid the guys are doing in practice and in the games the same thing, and the coaching staff's okay with that. They're seeing this. They know what they're seeing. They can't be idiots. Maybe they are, but they're probably like, no, they did what we want them to do.
Yeah, that's the problem is, they're happy with what's happening in practice, right?
Yeah.
It's I not one positive from this defense. I'm telling you, not one. I can't think of one.
I mean, if we played Nebraska or Miami next week again, we get beat by more than what we got beat by this week.
Probably.
Let's coaching staff.
Let's switch over to the A&M offense, Corey, because everybody. Look, we praised Petrino after last week. So
I don't think Petrino's play calling was that bad. I thought the offensive line let me down again. They're about where we thought they would be. I think they're a little bit better. They're not good. I don't know what happened to Pasantis at right tackle, but I saw Cran over in. I thought I liked the way Connor, when things broke down, he'd run. I liked seeing that. I don't think he threw the ball great. First pick that he,
look, and you said it, right? Our primary concern in this deal was the offensive line. And it turned out to be the truth. No surprise there.
But Connor does a good job.
We were hoping to see them run some more, and of course that didn't happen. So just instead of which is exactly what we expected, is for them to actually just come in and throw it underneath a little bit and try to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Connor's two interceptions hurt a lot. But
the first one wasn't his fault, but it's INT.
Yeah, but having said
Might have
that,
slipped, I think.
in spite of the two interceptions, if you look at how Connor did, he wasn't great by any means. He missed some throws.
No.
There's some opportunities that he missed. I thought he was uncomfortable for a little bit for quite a bit of the portion of this game, but he still stood in there and when he had time, he was great. Anytime he had time, he was great. And then he stood in there a couple of times where he just got absolutely slobber knocked and delivered the ball on time to the guy. I mean, Thomas, the touchdown comes to mind, where he was just, absolutely blown up very second after, right?
But no, yeah, absolutely. Like I told you yesterday, I quit watching the game after the third quarter. I think it was halfway through the third. I got so pissed. But from what I saw from Connor, he's on a battle. He's a gamer. What he doesn't have right now, he doesn't have that clock in his head like Johnny and guys that you've seen in the past. They're like, hey, I need to get out of here. I mean, he started to do it. You saw him break and run, but other times it's like, wow, he can't get the range of motion on his pass. But for right now, I think Connor's a hell of a quarterback, and he'll do a good job. I think I'll tell you who did impress me, except for his fumble, was what's his name, Daniels. I thought he did good. He looks quick. He hit some holes, but that damn fumble, man, when he was running on the outside, you can't have that shit. You got to wrap that thing up. I mean, that guy put his helmet right on the damn ball, knocked it loose.
He did.
Jake Johnson showed some decent hands, but I'm really disappointed we didn't see more Moose and Anais in the middle of the field with all that pressure coming up. Why can't you get the ball short and quick to those two guys? I mean, it's coming. Give it to them.
Yeah, and look, another thing is I thought, and look, Evan Stewart had a great game, right? 143 yards or whatever it was. I mean,
yeah,
the dude was fine. But see, it's hard to get mad at him. But one, it felt like Connor was forcing it into him a few times.
Yeah.
And two, it also he did have some drops and a couple of passes that he probably should have taken. Not to mention, there was at least twice when he had the opportunity to put his shoulder down and try to get a first down that he said that instead he sort of backed up, went around, and then didn't make it, right? So he wasn't perfect, I guess is my point. I know that's sort of nitpicking on what he did on Saturday because he definitely wasn't necessarily the problem, right? But
I mean, the problem is we know the problem's at from the offensive side. I mean, we scored 33 points. Half of those were from the freaking turnovers, right? I mean, the punt block and then the muff. So I mean, that's giving us 14 points. So we scored maybe 19 points on offense. Here and there. And of those points, I don't think our skill position guys were the big issue. The problem was the front 5 or 6 guys. What do you want to say? Going to throw a tight end in there too.
Yeah, I mean, Jake did have some catches there and did some good things there, but you know what? He didn't block as usual. He struggles in that area. He's a big dude, but he just doesn't. He's not used to doing it, and nobody's teaching him how to. So
they're not teaching any of those guys how to block. They're not teaching anybody there how to block. I think the tight ends coach and the O-line coach are the same person because they're not teaching anybody how to block. Nobody.
So let's go there, man, because I don't know. You say you didn't really see any fault of Petrino's offensive play calling, and I don't know. For the most part, you're probably right. I mean, a lot of it, if you get some protection, sort of plays out better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they didn't do anything to get Moose the ball. They didn't do anything to get Anais the ball quick and let those guys try to make some. Miami went to those tunnel screens and all that real quick and made some plays. The Aggies were not having any of that, right? We're getting our quarterback killed and we're not doing anything to try to get the ball out of his hands. So to me, there is an issue. There is an issue with play calling. There's an issue with play calling because those guys ran a cornerback blitz like 10 times and it got home every time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's as the offensive line never saw it. And, some people are, oh, the cornerback, that's not the guy that's, the offensive line is not responsible for blocking that guy. Yeah, they are sometimes. Defensive end crosses Zune's face, and Zune just follows him on in there instead of passing him off to the guard and picking up the next guy coming, which is the corner. I mean, that's easy peasy. That's the level one offensive line play. It happened with
Zune there took a false start when we had like 4th and 1 or something like that. We were going to go for it. And
might have been Nabu.
I think it was Zune.
Or it was one of those two guys, though. But you're right. Look, and not a single one of those offensive linemen played very well. It happened to Bizantes on the other side too. Guy comes.
I think he got benched. He got hurt or benched. I'm not sure because Crownover was in the right tackle.
Crownover came in after a while.
I didn't see Father. Did Father play?
No.
Did Dewberry play?
Yes, some, but Nabu played more, and I thought Newberry played better than Nabu, to be honest with you. But Zune gets in there very like one of the early plays in the first drive, right? Like they rush 3. And the defensive end crosses his face and goes right to the quarterback. And gets pressure right off the bat. Like there's no explanation for that, man. There's no reason for that. They are 100% individuals on that offensive line. They sit in there and they're running a lot of zone schemes, especially in the running game. A lot of zone schemes where you're responsible for an area, not a person, but yet their eyes are on a man and they're sitting there chasing players. They get their heads into one block and they even if that guy is like twisting around 3 other players around the other outside, they sit there and chase them. Get your eyes back in there. It's like nobody's ever told these offensive linemen keep your head on a swivel kind of situation, right? Like, look, get back into your stance and see what's coming. You're not going to chase a defensive lineman across the offensive line to go block them. That's not how that works. It's not what they're supposed to do. And those guys seem like that's what they're told to do. I'm telling you, on top of that, this sounds crazy. They're overly aggressive. It's like 64. Robinson sits in there. Oh, I picked up this block, and now all of a sudden he's going to freaking sit there and hit him hard. Well, the moment he does that, he misses. The guy goes right by him and gets pressure on Connor. And it's secondary pressure, don't get me wrong. But why do we even have to have that secondary pressure? Why can't we not be over aggressive and miss that block?
So what you're saying is the D-line and offensive line have got it backwards.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. The D-line's being not aggressive enough, and they're basically staying on the blocks. And the offensive line's not staying on the blocks. They're being over-aggressive.
Let's let Adazio go touch the D-line, and then let's get Terry,
Well, something's got to change. And that's the thing that drives me nuts more than anything is when you see the same damn thing happen over and over and year after year, and nothing changes. And our offensive line sucked last year.
Yeah.
If it sucks again next game, a change has to be made. I don't give a shit.
And let me tell you something, Corey. Let me tell you something, because this is important. Everybody's all about, Foster. Foster didn't block a freaking soul for 3/4 of the plays in this freaking game. The dude sits there and he's like, looking around, like lost.
What was that? Gotcha.
Look, I can't.
Hey, who do we play next week?
UL Monroe.
Thank God.
Thank God. Who's your offensive MVP, Corey?
It was either Stewart or Connor, one of the two. Because they're Owens. I'll tell you what, Owens impressed me with his hands out of the backfield. I thought he made some decent catches.
Yeah. I did want to bring that up today. I thought he did some good things, looking like a receiver at times.
Exactly. I thought he looked good. But he's doing the things I thought they should have Moose doing almost. You know what I'm saying? Or put Anias back there in the backfield. Do you want to throw the ball to the freaking tailback? Put Anias out there. Put Moose in Anias' spot. Let's get our best players. I'm not saying Ruben's not one of our best players, but the guys we know of.
Yeah.
Use your head. Take Jake Johnson off the field. Max protect. Well, I didn't see much max protect, by the way.
Yes, and so you know what Jimbo's comments after the game were? Well, they brought more than we could block. No, they didn't. Never did they bring more than we could block. Actually, I went back and watched that film. There wasn't one time when they brought more rushers than we had blockers. Not once. But you know what did happen? We went from last week a bunch of max protect against a real crappy team to this week a team that's a lot better, and we didn't do it once. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and defend our defense. They look like shit.
No,
but we didn't put them in the best situations the whole game. We could have held the ball more, had longer possessions, given them a little bit more breathers. But
the fumble by Daniels, by the way, was on a 3rd and 1. A 3rd and 1.
Yeah, he's going outside. Why is he going outside the box?
He bounced it, and you know why he bounced it? Because Jake and your pulling guard completely missed their blocks.
Why is Jake in there on a 3rd and 1 play anyway?
Yeah, go.
Why is Max Wright not up there? Why don't you put Crown over along with Basantis? You know what I'm saying?
Crownover, by the way, another guy that made a big play in that game. Probably go unrecognized. But
the catch?
Yeah, that catch, which was a good catch, by the way. Good catch.
It was. Good throw, good catch. I thought I didn't think he was gonna catch that. Not to.
Yeah, I think 15's your MVP, by the way. I think I thought he played tough. You know, I thought he still stood in, delivered the ball, made some nice plays. Look, the interceptions are costly. And he's got it. He couldn't. The second one is his fault. You know, that's a throw. That's a throw he can't make right there.
You're behind. You're trying to make plays. I understand. I get it.
But the dude was still tough as nails. Went in there, delivered the ball under pressure at times, and was just constantly in pressure, constantly under pressure. Last thoughts on this game right now, Corey?
I'm very disappointed. I've said it over and over. Miami, I think, is better than what I thought they were. I think they're the second or 3rd best team in the ACC. I think they could beat Clemson after what I saw from Clemson. Van Dyke looked good. Their offensive line looked good, but we look like shit. I mean,
talk to me about A&M, Corey.
I'm not talking. This is a Hurricane Network. What are you talking about? It's a Hurricane podcast.
Pretty soon.
Seriously, look, I mean, what do you want me to tell you? The Aggies, I'm disappointed. I told you that all day yesterday. I'm disappointed in every aspect. I'm disappointed. I wanted Jimbo. I texted you yesterday. I wanted him to be fired when he got off the plane yesterday. But I didn't want to sit here and make the whole podcast about Jimbo and Durkin getting fired. Because everybody knows how we feel about that.
Yeah, let me add Bjork. Let me add Bjork to that list of names, right? Bjork, who gave Jimbo that retarded extension, right? That ridiculous extension when he didn't deserve it, when he done nothing to deserve it. Because you know what? You could feel real comfortable about firing Jimbo Fisher's ass after this freaking year if you only owed him another $30 million. But no, you gave him a freaking extension and made him higher paid than he already was. And you know what? Now you can't fire him after this year. Thank you, Bjork. That's a great job. Giggle.
He's a salesman. I'm telling you, that's what Jimbo. He's a salesman. Him and Durkin.
All right, so let's go around the country a little bit because I think we agree.
Well, what did you think? Hey, what did you think about Miami? You haven't said anything about Miami. Did you like them?
Yeah, I thought Miami was better than we expected them to be. That's for sure. I do. Look, I do think they have a chance, and we're going to get a little bit more into the conferences here in a bit, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, look, impressed by what Miami did. We'll see if that was a product of A&M being so bad, or if they're actually any good going forward.
Right.
Around college football, Aggies, Wisconsin, the only 2 ranked teams to lose, other than the 2 games that pitted 2 ranked teams against each other. So that's first.
All right.
I mean, we got to start with Bama, Texas, right? So bad news leads to bad news.
Texas looked really good. Bama didn't look terrible. It's just that quarterback. He is what I thought he was. He's really athletic. He made some good throws here and there, but he made some bad decisions. I'm talking bad decisions. I mean, he's got all the talent in the world. He's got to be coached.
I wasn't all that. I'll tell you, I wasn't overly impressed by Texas. I didn't think that Texas played great. I thought Bama's offense was that bad. And you're right, Milroe did make some plays, and he's got the athletic tools. He doesn't have very good instincts, from what I can tell. Right? There's a few of those times where he kept holding. He's the best athlete on the field, and there was times like he started to scramble, but then just kind of waited. Like, just go, right? Like, take off sometimes. He should have been taking off faster, sooner, right down the middle of that defense, and he wasn't doing it. And then I didn't feel like he had a very good like rhythm all day. Like, he very much comfort level in throwing the football. He made some nice throws, but it wasn't like it was something rhythmic, right? I don't know. He's
I just kept having that feeling watching that game that Bama was going to do something to win the game. Like, Texas couldn't get away from him. Texas, I'll tell you, Ewers made some good throws. Those deep throws, I mean, he lays the ball out there nice.
Look, and they've got weapons, right? I mean, Worthy's the real deal, man. He's a top notch guy. Mitchell's good wide receiver.
You see that catch Worthy made? Like, I mean, it just rocked. I mean, he had to catch up with. I didn't think he was going to catch it. That's hard as shit to catch those.
Yeah, and so I mean, Texas is good. I think they're fine. I was more than anything else disappointed with Alabama's offense, and I also thought. Remember when we talked about the fact that, and I said a long time ago that I thought Milroe would be the quarterback, and I thought they would use the quarterback run game as a staple to bring back their power run game, right? And that's not the case. I mean, he takes off on like broken plays and different things like that, but they don't actually use him running the football as in their play calls, right? There's not a lot of quarterback run in there. And if I were that team, with the way what I've seen from them, I'd incorporate the quarterback power and all that stuff, man. And you'd be looking at a whole different operation. But I don't know. I think Bama's got some issues.
I hear you.
Ole Miss Tulane, man, another big game between ranked opponents.
That was a good game for a while.
Yeah, slow start for Ole Miss.
Tulane didn't have their quarterback.
Yeah, and it showed.
That made a big difference. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't overly impressed with Ole Miss out of what I saw of that game. I mean, it is what it is with Ole Miss. They're going to run the ball. Dart's going to somehow the receivers always get open 10 yards behind the defense. I don't understand how that happens.
And the running game wasn't incredible. I mean, Ole Miss is fortunate that Tulane turned the ball over twice too, right?
Yeah, I mean that last score I think Ole Miss had to put the game away was a stupid score.
Yeah, the running game for Ole Miss hasn't been where we probably expected it to be with that group. But I mean, they get a big win over a ranked opponent. Oregon, Texas Tech, man.
Best game of the day.
That was something, wasn't
awesome. Oh man, I called you and it's like something just happened. Man, because we had Oregon -6. They were up 1 with 35 seconds, and he threw a pick 6. And didn't you say the announcer said fall down on the way in there? I ain't having that.
Don't do it.
Spread. That one thing hit a 14 parlay.
Dude,
that was the fourth game of the 14 parlay. You hit it. It was awesome. That game was great. Oregon, Tech. I don't know if Wyoming's that good or Tech just had a bad game against Wyoming. Tech didn't look that bad to me. Tech moved the ball.
But,
Oregon,
and the quarterback cost him the game, right? I mean, 3 turnovers, dude. Three interceptions.
Yeah,
cost him the game.
It is the Tech is what I thought they were. They're athletic. They throw the ball around the field. The defense gives up big plays, but they take chances. That's what they do. That's what they are.
And it comes to fruition again and again, right? I mean, it's hard to go play in Lubbock. I imagine if you're from Oregon, it's hard to go play in Lubbock because of the fact that it's 105 degrees and you're coming from a cool like 76, right? I mean, so just to start there, that's a big deal. And then to top it all off, they're throwing tortillas at you, and whatever happens over there with that crowd. I mean,
I'll tell you what else, Bo. That's the best decision he ever made was to transfer out of Auburn and go to Oregon because that guy's changed his whole. I mean, where he might go after college, he might have an NFL at Auburn. He wasn't doing it.
Let's go to another Pac-12 game, Wisconsin, Washington State. Cam Ward,
Good game.
the quarterback from Washington State, man, he just kept going and going, huh?
I didn't get it. I mean, I was sitting there talking to you, watching the game. They're up, and they're less than 5 minutes to go in the game. They're up, and they're snapping the ball with 30 seconds still in the play clock. It's like, dude, take your time. You're up 9 points, less than 5 minutes, and they're like, we got to go, we got to go, we got to go.
Keep with your identity, man. Look,
That's
once
what they
again,
did.
another game they won the turnover battle 3-0, right? I mean, that's a big one.
Yeah.
But another good win for the Pac-12. Notre Dame continues to play well. A little bit of struggles early with NC State in that defense, but overall they ended up putting them away pretty easily.
Yeah, they dominated the game pretty much. I like their running game. I like Hartman as a quarterback. I think they're good.
Yeah, Hartman another 4 touchdowns, and like you said, the running. This is the first time he's got a running game to help him, right?
Yeah,
I think that team's going to be tough. The Utah Baylor game, I don't know. This was one of the worst games I've probably watched all day.
How did Baylor lose to Texas State? I still don't get that. I mean, there's a lot of things I don't get.
Texas State. I can see how they lost to Texas State. They were bad the other day. It just so happens that Utah for 3 quarters was worse.
Yeah, that quarterback of Utah's, I wasn't impressed with that guy. They need Cam Rising back if they want to keep making what I'm seeing out of the Pac-12. If Baylor or Utah wants to keep winning, they're going to have a hard time doing it without that quarterback Rising.
Cam Rising's got to come on. Colorado, another big story in Colorado, right? They go and beat Nebraska now. Who's Nebraska, whatever. But
exactly.
I think a couple of things came to fruition with some of our conversation about Colorado. One is the beginning of that game. I mean, Nebraska was getting pressure on the quarterback Sanders all day. And there were struggles offensively for Colorado in the first half. And I think in the second half, that defensive front for Nebraska just wore out because they don't have that sort of depth, right? And once they wore out and they weren't able to put pressure on Sanders anymore, that's when the athletes came to play, my friend. And they started slinging it a little bit, and boom, boom. Next thing you know, that thing's a blowout.
Yeah, Colorado, they looked all right, but once they get in the Pac-12, it's going to be fun to watch the Pac-12 games. There's going to be some high-scoring games.
A couple of quick hitters here. Oklahoma took care of business over SMU.
Yep. Close game, 14-11 at one point.
Yeah. The Fighting Elkos continue to win over at Duke.
But they beat the crap out of somebody good, didn't they?
Somebody not so good?
Yeah.
UNC struggled again against App State, just like last year.
Double OT.
That was a double overtime game, but they got the win. Got the win.
That's all that matters.
I wanted to talk about the conferences, man. We're in the SEC. Aggies are big time SEC guys. Obviously, we always support the SEC and all those types of things. Whatever. And we've always talked about how good the SEC is.
Right.
My argument to you today is that the SEC is no longer the best conference in the country. Not this year.
Yeah, maybe.
Look, Bama with the loss to Texas, Florida, the loss to Utah, Aggies, the loss to Miami, right? So you see it in some of the big games that have happened so far this season. But not only that, I think you've got to and you've talked about the Pac-12 a couple of times here today. Oregon, USC, Washington State, Oregon State, Utah. Man, all those teams have got a quality win over somebody, right? And have
looked Colorado.
Huh?
You left Colorado off that list.
And Colorado, right?
And they're not on that list.
To me, the Pac-12 right now is the best conference in the country today. The SEC, that Georgia has done what they're supposed to do, but they've played nobody, and nobody else is really impressed. I mean, South Carolina got whooped by North Carolina. Tennessee struggled for the most part of a game this
Austin P
against Austin P. Kentucky, who did Kentucky struggle with this week?
Eastern Kentucky.
I mean, so in the East, nobody's really giving you this feel. Florida's already lost to a Utah team that we just said was one of the worst teams we saw played all day yesterday.
Right. Ole Miss has the only win. They beat Tulane. Ole
Miss, and with a backup quarterback. Tulane with a backup quarterback. And so
LSU got drove.
LSU got drove by FSU. Alabama got drove by Texas. We got drove by Miami. Mississippi State, by the way, almost lost to Arizona. yesterday, went to overtime. Auburn had a hard time with Cal, who last year was maybe one of the worst teams in all of college football. So, so you can't all of a sudden this whole idea that the SEC is the best conference in the country, I think, is laughable, to tell you the truth. And even Georgia, I wasn't all that impressed with. It took them a quarter to score a touchdown on what school of the blind were they playing this week?
God, who were they? Oh, Ball State.
Ball State. Jeez Louise. I mean,
yeah.
Hold on tight, folks.
That was a good one.
I think that I do think that the conference has taken a step back. I'm a little bit concerned about that. But it's exciting because all over the country there's teams that are playing good football. We just talked about the Pac-12. How about the Big 12? I mean, Texas obviously with a big win. I thought Kansas State's looked good so far. Oklahoma's look like they're going to be all right. But they've also got a lot of teams that have lost some. Iowa State looks bad, right? Kansas has been, I guess, okay, but Baylor already lost 2 games, haven't they?
Yeah, they lost to Texas State and this week to Utah.
Texas Tech lost to Wyoming. So I mean,
to Oregon.
So there's a lot. The Big 12 doesn't look all that impressive, but I guess those 2-3 teams at the top, they're going to have a chance to, maybe.
Well, they got more than 3 teams. I mean, who'd you name? You said Oklahoma, Alabama, or Texas.
Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas State. Those are the only 3 teams at the top I see. Who else?
What about UCF? UCF beat Boise State, beat the shit out of somebody the first week. Houston didn't look good this week against Rice.
Who's the other team they got? UCF is one of your best teams. I think you've got a problem.
Hey, they were up for the national championship a couple years ago. What are you talking about?
How about the Big Ten? The Big Ten's taken some lumps also. Every one of out of conference games that they played against a good team, they pretty much lost. Now, Michigan hadn't done nothing, but they haven't played nobody. Ohio State hadn't done nothing. They haven't played nobody.
They don't look that good either.
Penn State maybe has been the one that looked the best, but they haven't played nobody either. How about Iowa? Can Iowa compete? Maybe.
Yeah, they beat Iowa State. How good is Iowa State?
Not good.
Yeah.
But they always play good defense. So if they can put a couple points up on the board, maybe they can do it. I don't know.
Yeah, they play ugly football.
ACC, though, you got Florida State looks great.
Yeah, they look really good.
Is Miami going to be able to compete with them?
I think so. After watching them, yes. I mean, I didn't think so at the beginning of the season because I watched them play Miami of Ohio, but playing the Aggies, I mean, Florida State would have beat us, but I think it would have been the same kind of game.
I think Florida State would have beat us by 50.
Shit, Miami should have beat us by 50.
Maybe.
They could have.
I'm going to tell you this. I'm not sure that Miami's as good as we're giving them credit. I think we made them look a lot better than they are, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think that Miami team is good. I don't think that they're top of the echelon good, and I don't think they're going to give a Florida State. And look, they're all going to get a chance because in the ACC you got Duke, Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, FSU, right? All
I'm
teams,
not sure about North Carolina.
North Carolina struggled, and I was going to say that North Carolina struggled with App State. Clemson got beat by Duke already. Right. So I mean, how good is the rest of? I don't know, but they've got at least 4 teams in there that can at least make a run, and they're going to play each other. A lot of these teams play each other throughout the year this year. Right. Florida State's got, they're not done. That schedule's got, I think, still got Duke, Clemson, and Miami on. I'm not sure. They played 3 of those 4. I'm pretty sure. Right. In the ACC, and so they're going to have to go prove it for sure. Where would Miami end up in that group? I bet you somewhere around 3rd.
Hey, that's not that bad. I mean, you got Florida State, who's a national championship contender, I think, this year. Who's second? Who do you have as second? Duke?
Maybe, yeah. It could be Duke. I do.
I think Miami would beat Duke.
It could be Duke.
Hey, would Duke beat A&M right now? Hey, would Duke beat A&M? You think Duke could beat A&M?
Yeah,
I think Duke could beat A&M. I do. I want to see it. I hope they're getting a bowl.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? The Elkos against the Jimbos. So yeah, we talked SEC, right? I mean, I don't know. Who's the best conference to you right now?
Oh, Pac-12. Playing
Pac-12,
great
right?
football.
I
Yeah,
think so.
Pac-12. Right after 2 weeks, Pac-12.
And it's
They've
their
only
last
lost one game. They've only lost like one or two games all
and
year.
it's their last year of existence.
That makes sense.
Doesn't that make sense? All right, questions from the tailgate brought to you by Providence Financial Coaching. Call Steve Gay, certified financial counselor at 863-732-6224. Integrity, accountability, resourcefulness in financial coaching. Visit their website at providencefinancialcoaching.com. Over 20 years of experience in corporate finance. Let them know you heard them on Ags Tailgate. All right. Biggest takeaway from college football week 2, Corey?
We just talked about it. Pac-12 is impressive. They're very impressive. The overreaction to week 1 to week 2 is huge because we did that with A&M, thinking they were better after playing a New Mexico team. Is obviously really bad. There are some good teams out there, but there's a lot of bad ones. A lot of bad ones. A lot of bad coaching. Uh, week 3, I'm not sure who's on the schedule for next. Huh?
We'll get into some week 3 stuff later in next pod. But here's
But I was just saying, I'm not sure how far ahead. Like, what have we learned? You just said it. Pac-12's the best conference. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, man. I think that was the big takeaway from week 2. And you mentioned
Is Colorado for real?
Huh?
Is Colorado for real?
If by for real you mean they're going to go 500, considering they won one game last year, I mean that's a pretty good improvement, right?
Last year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the things that we talked about with Colorado, I mean, I think they do have incredible. That kid number 12, man, Hunter. He played like 83% of the snaps, defense and offense. Like the dude is on the field,
love it,
the entire time.
Deion's smart. Put your best players on the field. Put them on the field.
He's a baller, man. I love it. They've got players at positions, that you need players, right? And incredible athletes offensively, and obviously with 12, he's playing both ways. The question to me still for Colorado is going to be how, whenever they get into the meat of that Pac-12 conference schedule with as many talented teams as you're looking at, teams that are going to be able to bring and put a lot more pressure on you than Nebraska was able to, because Nebraska's coming off of a coaching change and a culture change and retooling of the roster and everything else. When they get into that meat, I think that they're going to struggle against the top end of the Pac-12. But
I agree.
He's done a great job.
Right.
Second question: what does this performance tell you about the rest of 2023 season for the Aggies?
I mean, I don't think it's all doom and gloom, but puts us. I mean, the 7-5 record, 6-6, 7-5 range makes it more realistic now. Because I mean, after watching Alabama, can we beat Alabama?
Maybe.
I mean, you watched the LSU game. Can we beat LSU? Maybe.
No.
Can we beat Ole Miss?
Why not?
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of ifs. Auburn.
There's a lot of ifs. Look,
I mean, how confident do you feel in our record right now? What are you thinking we're going to go?
Yeah, I think this game does tell you. Look, you better reset your expectations if you're an Aggie fan, right? I mean, we were talking, 9, 10 wins, 11 wins, type season, right? We were talking 10-win type season. I don't think that's in the books. I don't think that's anywhere in the works, right? I think that's
no.
You get UL Monroe, and on a bounce back at home, and everybody will get back on the bandwagon. It's going to be great, and then you probably beat Auburn right after that because, Auburn's in the first year with their coach and trying to get the roster turned around and all that stuff, and you probably still beat them just talent-wise alone. Of course, I would have said that last year. But then you get a run of Arkansas, Bama, Tennessee, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. And I don't think that it's by any stretch of the imagination a thought that we go 3-3 in those. We could even go 2-4. I'm not saying we can't win those games. I'm saying we won't win them all. And I don't think we win more than half from what I saw from this team yesterday. And so I think if you're talking 7-5, that's probably the area you probably need to be aiming at. 7-5. And that's
we have to get past UL Monroe. We have to get past
that's a disappointment.
Oh, it is, definitely. But that's where it's at.
What does that do for Jimbo? What does that do for Jimbo?
Well, you just said he signed a contract extension, so I mean, I guess he's going to be around.
Yeah, and then we're talking about, does he do something about Adazio and Durkin next year? You know, Jimbo loves to keep his folks around, so probably not. You know, we're still coming back with the same thing, and so hope and promise has turned into gloom and doom around here.
Yeah.
All right. We got a game this coming week, though. Again, UL Monroe. We'll do a little preview podcast later in the week.
Can't wait.
Aggies, AP, C Money, signing out.